Good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and I am the host of Real Men Real Talk Live. If you missed the show last week, fake it till you make it. Here's a here's a here's a backdrop for what unfolded with the four men here.
Yep. That's why we're artists, man. I mean, we live from the seat of our heart. We're creating, and when we create and we put our art out into the world, we're putting us out into the world. There's always self-doubt. Will people like this? Every artist I know has got that going on. That what propels us, it's our passion. So yeah, man, I look at my book now and it's just beginning, the official release date. It's not about if people are going to like it. It's about, oh my God, I'm putting something out into the world in a bigger way. There's a huge part of me out there. You sit behind a desk and you're crunching numbers in a cubicle. I don't think you're really putting your heart out there. That's what I used to do.
My name is
Beautiful
Jay
stuff.
Rothman. Welcome to Real Men Real Talk Live. I'd like to take a moment here to introduce our co-host this evening, coming in, the man and lamb from down under. He calls Australia home. Welcome back, the Aboriginal Evis Love Heath. Welcome back.
Oh, that was a beautiful clip, Mr. Fasano. So excited for tonight's show, brothers.
We also have Jeff Fasano coming in from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome back, Jeff Fasano.
Thank you, Mr. Rothman. I hope I didn't offend people who work in sitting cubicles.
Yeah, man, I kind of felt that twist a little bit there. Also, Jay Ritty, known as Josh Richard, coming in from Southern California. Welcome back to episode 149. Tonight's show is all about growing up, showing up, and glowing up. Maybe it's even glowing out. I want to invite Evis Love, since you're in the top shelf with me on the levels here. On tic-tac-toe. Why don't you light us up, get us hot, get us going on tonight's episode? What is growing up, showing up, and glowing up all about for you tonight?
Another deep show, and I just want to come on the back end of that beautiful clip from Mr. Fasano, because I think we're very fortunate to be witnessing a true glow up with one of our brothers happening right now. So a nice quote, I think, for tonight, if I remember correctly, it goes something like, just beyond the horizon of the so-called impossibilities are infinite possibilities. Unfortunately, many of us, we actually become our own worst enemy, getting in the way of some of those gifts or those blessings like Mr. Fasano has created within his own life. But my brothers and sisters, no one's controlling our own minds except for us. We either are mastering it or we're below it. So what happens with this repetition, like he's mentioned in those cubicles, or whether it may be just your 9-to-5 job, we actually lose sight of some of those options, some of those pathways, or some of those possibilities that are right now here on this planet. You know, some of these possibilities allow us to be able to create new pathways, new thought patterns, new way of bloody doing things that we never probably would have thought possible back in the day. But when we do open up to receive some of these things that come into our life, we actually start to align, like Jeff was saying even there in the clip, more to that heart space. You know, we actually start to open up to exploring within our life. We open up to actually experiencing. We even open up to even maybe experimenting with certain things within our life. So these possibilities create these new outcomes and these new experiences within our lives to hopefully allow us to show up each day after we've grown up so we can get the glow up like our brother, Mr. Fasana. But I would love to hear, Mr. Fasana, where's it all going with your glow up at the moment, my brother? Because when I was doing that clip, man, I felt so much light coming from your heart, brother.
I don't know. And the reason why I say I don't know is, as I explained last week, it's moving me into in a totally unknown place that where I've never been before. It's in the very short time that this book has been out. It's not even a week. Lots of stuff is popping up. And with tonight's show, where am I showing up within that? But it's all new. It's all unknown. So when we're stepping into that unknown, we walk through a doorway and we don't know anything. We have ourselves. But it's how are we showing up in those moments where our lives are taking a new turn, where doorways are open up for us, or as we spoke about in the production meeting, new opportunities in life that may be challenging our comfort zones. So it's about showing up for ourselves in life, not for anybody else, but how are we showing up in life to when those doorways open, and on the other side of those doorways are more than likely opportunities. And are we looking at those as opportunities? And then when those opportunities ask us to show up, be there, and move our lives to a new level, a different level, a higher level perhaps, how are we showing up to do that?
I mean, you nailed it, Jeff. It's like the doors open around us in life all the time, right? And some of the doors we want to walk through, they are in alignment with what we're going after, what we're seeking, what, the goals and dreams that we have. And then we pass other doors that are not. But opportunity, I mean, we really hit on that in the production meeting. And I think that's the key to glowing up, is putting ourselves in opportunity way. And I get it. It's terrifying. It really is. 20 years ago, I moved out to LA. I had a beautiful loft in downtown Denver. I overlooked the skyline, and it was amazing. But I gave it up to come out here and try and be in entertainment. And I say try because I didn't know a soul. I moved out to put myself in opportunities way. And I landed here and I got my first job off Craigslist and I started working. And then I kicked butt on that job again, seizing the opportunity, taking that moment and grabbing hold of it in the face of all my fears. I lived in a dumpy place in Hollywood. It smelled like dog pee and it was awful. There were for sure times that I sat there in my tiny apartment and said, I gave up my beautiful loft in Denver for this. But I kept going. And one job led to a referral for the next, and led to a referral for the next. And then I can base my entire career off that first job on Craigslist for $50 a day. And I worked for a month for $50 a day. But that's opportunity, right? I wouldn't have had the opportunity had I said, no, there's no way I'm worth more than that. Of course I'm worth more than that. But that was the opportunity. And so I seized it. And it's terrifying. It's really scary. Moving and packing all my things. I was like, what the hell are you doing? This is a dream. You don't know how to do this. Nobody in your family's done this. There's no roadmap. What are you doing? But it's about putting ourselves in opportunities way. And we can just get there. We can just start. We can just get boots on the ground and start move through those fears. I think a big part of the exercise is moving through fear too. And what do we do with our fears when they are screaming at us? And so, yeah, I'm excited to explore all this tonight. I would love to learn some tools from you capitalize on what you did with your fears during moments of opportunity slash terror.
One of the things would be to, if that opportunity knocks and the door is open, and then those feelings or those fears appear, ask yourself, what am I frightened of? What am I frightened of in these moments? Because more than likely that the wounds of the little child are kicking in. Will I be safe and secure? Which is a big one. Am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? All of those fears, because that's what the fears are. It's not about what's really in the unknown on the other side of the door. What will prevent us from walking through that doorway into the unknown and shifting the mindset that, yes, all these fears are coming up, but on the other side of that doorway are opportunities. That's the difference.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm sitting here listening to the three of you men share tonight, and I just had the awareness that each one of you, including me, took a significant pivot in our workplace, in our careers, if we want to call it that, in our life. And each one of us is doing something totally different than what we thought we were going to probably do our whole adult life. And I'm curious. I know, Jeff, you made that pivot somewhere between 38 and 40 years of your career. Josh, I'm curious, how old were you when you decided to leave Colorado and go for it in one of the most challenging, most competitive industries in the world, the entertainment industry?
Yeah, I was mid-20s.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So you were the youngest of us, which tells me you are definitely a real rebel then, because I wasn't looking to make a pivot in my career in my 20s. I was just getting going on it. But perhaps maybe you could share with us in a moment what was behind that, what really precipitated in your 20s saying, I'm out of here. But before you go there, Ev, how old were you when you shifted from how you thought you were going to create income for yourself in your life to when you actually are doing what you're doing now?
Well, brother, the thing is too, we make many shifts within our life, and to the earliest one, to be honest, and I probably never shared this, was when I just turned 18 and I'd left my local town to follow my dream playing football, or I call it the real football, soccer, in another state, which was down south in Victoria. So I packed up my bags and I cut a track, man. And there was one thing that was really tuning my dreams of, becoming a truth and living it as a reality. And that's what we use to really as an engine for manifestation in the 3D, and that's desire. My desire to get down there and really play at an elite level and be able to try and follow some of those dreams was so much more than my fear of not being able to either regret that or not even making that particular team. And I stayed down there for a good 3 years until I got injured. And then, obviously then you think on the backbone, okay, what can I fall back on now? And that's when I came back to really complete the studies. And that's my earliest recognition that I could really talk about, Joe.
Okay. Beautiful.
Cool.
You know what I love what you just said, Ev, is and I can relate to that. It's the drive or the passion. You found I love this. I'm here. And that passion for it overrides the fear.
Stronger than your fear.
Yeah. The passion.
It caught me too, Ev.
Yeah. The passion for it. I love this. And that's what happened to me. It's like people said, what were your fears? I go, I I didn't have any fears. I never thought I would fail because the passion was so in me that I wanted to do it. A friend of mine who I've known since I'm 14 years old connected with me looking for her book. And I said, hey, Joanne, I don't know what it was. What's that?
I said, I know Joanne.
Do
Well,
you?
get back to your story though. Joanne from Staten Island, right?
Yeah.
There's only one Joanne in Staten Island, so it's
Right.
got to be the same one.
So anyway, she said to me, I remember being you coming home from work, and we were both coming home from work from Manhattan because I lived on Staten Island at the time on the ferry, and I had my big, huge portfolio with me that I traveled back and forth to the city with all the time. And then on Fridays I had that, but so she was looking at my work and says, wow, this is really good. She said, I wish I had your nerve. And I said, Joanne, it had nothing to do with nerve. It's what I needed to do for my life.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It wasn't nerve. It's like, wow, I need to do this for my life.
Beautiful.
That was
Yep.
what it was.
It's just an absolute knowing. I want to bring it back to you, Josh. I asked you, what was it that for you in your 20s that gave you the courage to pack up and leave your home state of Colorado to think you got a shot at making it in the entertainment industry in Hollywood? What was your knowing?
It honestly came from one of the saddest moments in my life. I mean, and you guys know I've been to rehab. I had a near suicide. This moment that I've shared in the past, and I'll share again, is honestly what I consider the saddest moment in my life. Where I went to school for graphic design. I came back to Denver. I was working for a graphic design firm, and I ended up at a sign shop. And the sign shop was actually wildly creative, but I saw it as much less than where I saw myself. I mean, I was cutting vinyl, and I was running their digital department. And I remember at one point looking around my desk, there was nobody around me. And I said, is this as good as it's gonna get? And what was sad about that moment was that I was resolved that was okay. And that all of these thoughts of bigger, I was willing to let all that go in that moment and look around, and I was talking myself into, okay, but the guys are nice, the shop is cool, I have a good, I'm talking myself into it and out of my dreams for bigger things, that knowing that Jeff, I had a knowing inside that I was supposed to be doing so much more, but I didn't know what. And so, yeah, it was about, and I was drinking heavy at that time and partying because I wasn't happy in life. And I was just showing up at this ho-hum job because I thought that was the best I would get. And so it was a really sad moment. Yeah. So it was probably about a year after that I had been working for I was still kind of underground seeking out my dream and my goal. And I started working for some short films in Denver and doing that on the weekends and on weeks off. And I was like, man, this feels amazing. And how do I do this for the rest of my life? I don't want to have to go back to work at the sign shop on Monday. I want to just keep doing this, what I was doing on the weekends. And that was when I decided. I was like, well, I literally have nothing to lose. Like, I'm unhappy in my job in Denver. I'm not loving where I'm at in life. I'm not invigorated. I'm not passionate. I'm not excited. In fact, I'm just drinking on the weekends to get out my frustrations and my disappointments. And so, yeah, I just left and said, I'd rather crash and burn so hard and at least say that I tried than sit at that desk at the sign shop and accept that that was going to be my future.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Mhm.
I love that. I love it. I get chills because we all have our own path, our own story, not just in Real Men, Real Talk Live, but all of our viewers, people that are tuning in, our friends, our family members. How many of us found ourselves, we landed in a space, in a job, or in a career, and we stay with it because that's what we know. That's all we think we know. And we're going to go somewhere tonight where I want to take us deep into sharing some tips, tricks, and tools on. And what if you are one of these people, one of our viewers that acknowledges that you're not happy with where you're at, but in your thoughts, you may even convey this out loud. I don't know what I would do. I don't really know what I'm passionate about. So we're going to get there. We're going to go there. But before we go there, I just want to share from my own personal story. I landed in my career in my very early 20s, and I spent 2.5 decades on getting into a field that I had no idea I had within me, which was creative. Learned how to create restaurant interiors, and I did thousands of restaurant interiors over my career. And then my next pivot was I thought I wanted to make it to the high level in management in a company because I thought that's where the real money could be made, and or more money could be made. And I made it to a senior VP role. And yes, I made a lot of money, and I reached the point after close to a decade in that role where I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy in any level, but from a career standpoint, I was burnt out and it was no longer fun. I'd made it to the pinnacle of my career and I wasn't having fun. And then my life basically turned upside down. I got sick. I had medical conditions that hit because of the stresses in my role, the stresses at home, things that were going on within myself primarily. And from that moment, I started on my healing journey. And at some point within the first year, I had this absolute knowing, just like the three of you shared tonight, that the path I took to seek counsel, which was through the traditional Western medicine mental health industry, seeing a therapist at all different levels, from the psychiatrist for the pharmaceuticals to the psychotherapist to the social worker, to you name it. I went to every level for 21 years. And I personally, and it wasn't one, I saw multiple therapists, mental health workers, depending on what state I was living in at the time. And I didn't get my answers. I didn't get the direction. I didn't get called out. I didn't get the tough love. I didn't get any of what I needed other than another prescription for 2 different antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. And so when I started on my healing journey, and I chose a different direction, which was not to lean into somebody else to give me my answers, but to get the answers from within myself and what I'll call the universal divine source. Okay. I knew about 6 to 8 months into my journey that I was onto something. And what I was onto for me was that I wanted to pivot in my life and be able to provide to those people that were as in much pain as I was, and provide some guidance for them, not help, because I'm not in the business of helping people. I am in the business of inspiring people and bringing hope. That we have infinite possibilities, as Evis said in his opening moments in the Tonight Show. And through that, I pivoted. Now, somebody would say, well, how do you go from being creative in design, living in color, working in color, to now guiding people? And the true essence of it, I didn't know the answer to it at that moment, and I didn't need to know it then. So that's a brilliant question. But in the end, what I've learned is that we all have creative within us. we just have been walled off from it due to circumstances, due to traumas, due to experiences in our younger years, in our childhood. And when we surrender and we are ready to tap in and really learn the true essence of our creative within, we will find our way home to that space within ourselves. We then can share our creative in a different way. So yes, I'm not creating interiors design anymore, but what I am creating is the opportunity for people to find their way back home to the home within and to reconnect at their own soul level. And there is not a greater joy in my life other than when I see a smile on my partner's face. There's not a greater joy than guiding people back home to inner freedom and peace. And there is nothing more creative than that, my friends. To be able to tap into that part of ourselves that we didn't even know we had the capacity to do for ourselves. And then we could bring that hope and guidance to others that are in pain and ready to surrender. So that's how we show up. And that's how we grow up. And that's how we eventually can glow up. We just have to have the courage, and we have to have the inner knowing in that moment, that absolute knowing that this is a path we take. And if it means leaving the city like Evis did, or like Josh did, and like Jeff did as well, to find a way home to their passion, we can all do it. And I know it's possible because each one of us four have done it. So I want to bring it back to, there we go. Oh, there we go. I want to bring it back to the four of us. Thanks, Av. And really kind of dive in. You know, I've worked with many people that have said, God, I feel stuck. I'm just not, I know I'm not doing what I was born to do. I'm just not passionate about it, but I kind of got into my career either because of a parent, either because of an opportunity, or because of fear of whatever it was. But if you don't really know where your passion is, I want to open up to you guys, and we could start with Ev on the top shelf here. How can we learn where our true essence of our creative or passion is, so that we find it within ourselves, and we have the absolute courage to step in to show up and grow up so we can glow up?
Damn, man. I'm going to have some fun clipping that one tonight, Mr.
Right.
Offman. There was a lot of meat and veg in that particular little segue. Thanks, brother. That was beautiful. A couple of things that you really hit on the head straight away for me was it's the journey back home. That's got to be the initial route. You know, we've got to make that journey inward. That's always the inside job. We've got to come back home. To get to know thyself is to get to know thyself. So whether that's through, many of us use meditation. Many of you use this deep breathing, whatever it may be, the deep journey work. You've got to be on the journey back home. Once we're able to, come back home and start learning and identifying why we don't take that leap within our lives, then we can start being more aware and become more conscious to not only where we've come from, but why we're at the place we may be stuck at. And then for me, it's all about the new. Getting to know you is the new. So I love challenging myself, man. Like whether it's some crazy exercise out on country, whether it's just going to introduce me to self to someone random on the street. I challenge you today or this week, my brothers and sisters, try one thing new each week. That would be my first tip to actually start allowing yourself to, open up to these new horizons and these new opportunities of infinite possibilities. One thing that's never held me back also, letting go of the past, the regrets, the so-called mistakes, as we call missteps. So letting go of any of these regrets that have been holding you back to make this leap is really important before we actually start making some of those changes and really able to drive some of these passions within our lives. Another thing is I'm a very open-minded dude, man. If I don't agree with certain opinions of other people, at least I'm still open to listen. So many of us, we get stuck in these patterns or these circumstances because we're like a horse with blinkers. We're closed off. But when we take off those blinkers, not only are we becoming more open-minded, we actually become more open-hearted to receive some of these opportunities and gifts and new doorways. So there are a few of my brothers,
A few. You dropped a couple of significant bombs in there. What did you guys think? What'd you hear? What did you hear? What Ev said here?
I love it, Ev. I'm gonna piggyback on you in that sometimes knowing what we want is tough. I've been at points in my life where I don't know what that is. I've done things for other people for so long or for so many years, and because of my patterns or stories that were handed to me, there's a point in my life where I didn't know. So a tool that I used was starting to strip away the things that I'm not. Sometimes that's easier to then expose what you are passionate about, where your love is. So examining your life and going, am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing this because my family said I should be this, or somebody else said I should do that, or I'm feeling guilty to take care of someone in this way, and so I should be making. What are your decisions behind where you are? Now that's going to start to expose what you're not, and what the things that you aren't doing for you, right? That's what we're trying to get to here is, what are the things that you are doing in life that are not for you? That aren't for your greater good, or aren't because you love them. And then the little breadcrumbs in your life for the things you do love. Ev had a great example. When you don't know what you love, go try a bunch of stuff. I had a whole year where I told myself I had to say yes. A friend invited me out to a new place, and I was tired and felt like being home. I had to say yes. I did a whole year of yes. And I did some zany stuff that I never thought I would do in my life because I had to say yes. But it exposed me to a whole lot of really cool things and a whole lot of stuff I didn't like. But at least I know now, and I got to explore all that. So yeah, maybe uncover what you're not, and then just go do a bunch of shit.
100%, bro.
Well, that goes to how are we showing up in life? I'm showing up saying yes to life, or am I showing up saying no to life? It's how are we showing up in life? I think just asking ourselves what brings us the greatest amount of joy, and finding that. When Jay was just talking about, said what brings him the greatest amount of joy is helping and guiding and supporting others to find their joy inside of that. That brings him the greatest amount of joy. And what you just said, Josh, is what I've done. I followed the whole path of my father for 18 years. I've explained it over and over again until when someone, my friend's girlfriend at the time, said, you like photography. Tom's taking a course at the new school. Why don't you do that? And something hit me, resonated with me, and I said yes. So I went and did that. Took that for a semester. Mario Cabrera, who I dedicated my book to, looked at a print. He said, take my class next semester. I said, okay. I took his class and wound up studying with him for 2 years. And just all the yeses along the way. But along the way, I was just going deeper and deeper into my passion and love for photography and how I was expressing myself through it. So my passion grew and grew and grew and grew to the point where I made the decision that this is what I want to do, and took all those steps to do it, and knew that I had, like I said earlier, it wasn't even about what I was doing in the corporate world. It was my entire life surrounding that I wasn't happy about. I wanted to create a new life. And then when I made all those choices, the doors to that old life slowly closed one by one by one until the big door closed right before I turned 40. But in that entire time, I was enjoying my passion and building upon it until I knew I was ready to buzz out into the world, and I had stuff to show the world, and it was there. And then that was the next step in it. So for me, it was incremental. It wasn't just one big jump or one big leap. So the folks out there don't have to make huge leaps. Do it incrementally, step by step, because you're following a knowingness that, yes, I found this passion. I'm not quite sure how it's going to happen, but I'm going to work on the passion. I'm going to work on my passion, which is what I did, that slowly and incrementally led for me to close the final door of the old life and open up into the new life and create the next part of my life in my soul plan. So it's that. One of my biggest motivating factors, and it probably was for Josh as well, I was miserable. I've said it so many times on this show. I was miserable. Jace just said it.
Mm-hmm.
From 9 to 5 every day, and when I woke up in the morning, I was miserable.
9 to 5. That sounds like a part-time job to me, Fasano.
And
I wish I could say I was working 9 to 5.
But
you had it easy.
I mean, I don't do that anymore either. So
yeah, I hear you.
But the 9 to 5, you didn't want to really be around me between the hours of 9 and 5. You want to be around me when I had my camera in my hand, because it brought so much joy to me. So
even worse than
and angry of what I was doing was another motivating factor. I wasn't happy. Wow, I want to be happy.
Even worse than 9 to 5. I think the four of us can remember a time when, you remember midway through Sunday, you started dreading Monday. Like you couldn't even get a weekend to yourself because midway on Sunday you're like,
quick nightmare then, brother. Thanks for that.
Right.
But I gotta go back.
But those are the universe giving us signals.
Yep. Yep.
If I'm doing that like at 2 o'clock on a Sunday, oh man, I got to get up tomorrow and go, oh wow. And you're thinking about that on a Sunday afternoon. If that's not a sign to begin a process, I don't know what is.
There you go. I want to bring it back to Evans has shared some good insights on how to potentially tap in and begin the journey of tapping into your passions, to know perhaps where you want to pivot or where you want to go so you can glow. For me, what really helped me was I had to get out of my head and I had to get out of my house. Meaning I literally would leave every morning, very early in the morning around sunrise. And I would drive to the ocean. And I found first initially walking, and then I wanted to pick up my speed. So I got myself a beach cruiser, and I would have my music on. And the music I found in a journey was music that truly helped tap back into a profound part of myself that I had disassociated with or from for decades. So music was a great portal or a gateway to really the process of tapping into the true essence of who I was, not who I became in my adulthood. The second tool that I reached for after significant recommendations and suggestions by people that cared about me, but I had a block around it, was journaling. When I finally began to journal, I finally surrendered to that process. I fell in love with journaling. I fell in love with it because for the first time in my life, I actually felt like I had a safe place to express my truth and how I was feeling in that moment around every aspect of life, every topic that you could imagine that would flow through me. I'd literally just pull my bike over, lay it down in the sand. I'd sit down, I'd pull out my iPhone and my notes app, and I just start writing what I was feeling. And it was something I'd never experienced in my entire life, even as a child. And I didn't have time or patience to journal. But through the process of surrendering and learning how to express the true essence of what I was feeling, which I had walled off from, that was the gateway for me to begin to get to really date myself, get to know who I am, and then be able to start to experience what Josh and Jeff have shared, which is I began to realize that I was no longer at peace with what I was doing and how I was doing it and how I was showing up and what I was showing up to do. And through music and through journaling, of course, nutrition played a huge factor in clearing out the mind, the brain, the thoughts, because I had a very toxic diet. So of course my brain was toxic with that. So I cleaned up. I went pretty much plant-based for a couple of years, and took out, all the Diet Cokes that I was drinking, a 6-pack every single day or more, and all the other food that I don't even call food today, because it really wasn't. It wasn't sustainable. It wasn't keeping me going. It was killing me. But through nutrition and through journaling and through music, and for the first time in my life, just really being able to really begin to explore and get to know who I was without anyone's opinions, without anyone's insights, without anyone's direction, but just giving myself permission each day for a minimum of 1 hour, sometimes up to 3 hours in the early morning, just to spend time alone in nature. For me, at the time, I was living close to the ocean, so that's where I was able to do it. But those are some really quick portals or gateways. If you're unsure as to what your passion is or what you want to do, and you just want out, to get to know yourself better and to do it alone, even if you're married, spend time alone so that you can date yourself and get to know who you are, because you know who you've become. And if you're not happy with who that person is, then we only have one other way to go. We have two options. We either stay in it and we just get sicker, we get more unhappy, we get angry, right? We get pissed off, and it comes through how we treat other people. Most importantly, how we treat ourselves. Or we pivot and we invest the time for ourselves to get to know who we were born to be, not who we became. And in that moment, in those moments, we can begin the journey of what I refer to as coming home. And those are just a few of my suggestions based on my own journey. And I'll tell you what, I am so grateful that I had the courage to step into it. I wouldn't be alive today if I continued to show up the way I was. I would not be here. That's also an absolute knowing. So I'm grateful for that.
And
What do you make of that, Josh?
Quick question for you, Jay, because I know a lot of people were in the shoes that you were at the time, where you were in a relationship going through this awakening.
Yeah, I was in an early relationship with Mary, who's my partner today. Yeah, but it's not a but. Go on, go ahead.
No, I was actually thinking. I was talking about your previous. Was your crash? Did all of that happen at the same time?
Yeah.
Or were you starting to wake up?
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
So what would be your advice to somebody who is in a relationship, starting to wake up to themselves and maybe scared to show that partner, or that's another element of fear, right?
Yeah, no doubt. That's a beautiful question, Josh. And here's what I'll share with you based on the couples that I work with in Sedona, where I do my work today, working with individuals, but also more couples than individuals today that come into town that are looking to heal their relationship between one another. The majority of couples that I work with, one of them is just desperately waiting for their other partner to surrender. they are as unhappy witnessing and watching what their partner's going through because they're part of that experience.
Mm.
So they're actually, if you want to have your cheerleader show up for you, you don't have to go too far to look for it. If you're in a relationship with someone and they've been encouraging you to find your way or to make changes in your life, it's time to show up and grow up, friends. It's time to show up and grow up. And then you could do it together. That's the greatest gift. I met a couple this week. They booked with me. 43 years married. He's here to celebrate his 70th birthday. And the magic unfolded in the wilderness with this couple, beautiful couple, because she was so grateful that her husband was willing to even show up. She was so surprised. But here's his truth. His truth was that he said, I'm ready. I'm ready to figure my life out at age 70. Wow. You want to talk about a gift? I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it right here. Let's do it right here, right now. Let's do it. They showed up and they grew up over 3 hours. That's all it took. 3 hours. It's time to become the artist of our soul. Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
The part of us that's afraid, that's fearful of the pivot, of making a change, to actually find ourselves doing what gives us fulfillment, is our younger self. It's most likely it's our inner child. We're scared. What do you make of that, Jeff Fasano?
One of the things I learned over time, and I still go through it because, we're independent contractors and,
Yep.
The work is out there and the work's got to come to us as we seek it. One of the things that comes up for me from time to time when the work is slow and not there is, and it triggers certain aspects of my old wounding and conditioning, and I start to feel unsupported, is to look back at my life and see where I was. And then trusting, Jay always talks about trusting that we will be supported when we show up for ourselves. It's a 50-50 deal. We could sit back and say, oh, you know what, I'll sit back today and I'll, the universe will support me. And you'll hear a lot of new thought, new age, spiritual people talk about, oh, the universe is going to support me. The universe is going to support me. Well, the universe only listens to what we're putting out. We've got to show up and do our half of the bargain of life. How are we showing up? What are we showing up doing? One of the questions that I asked myself a long time ago that I shared with the guys in the production meeting was, where do I need to be to meet those who are going to guide and support me towards what I want? Where do I need to be to meet those who are going to support me, guide me, show me where I need to be to have what I say I want? So it's about, that's the question I asked myself. And then the universe guided me to where I needed to be. And then who I needed to meet, which is, I had no clue. But I met people along the way because I asked the question, where do I need to be? Where do I need to show up for myself on this journey of what I want, which is do photography and bring that out into the world. And I was guided to places that I couldn't even believe I was guided to. But I could share so many stories about how things came into my life, where all I did when somebody says, so really quick, back in 2002, I was in Miami shooting fashion, doing this thing in Miami. And somebody walked up to me and says, you need to be at South by Southwest. And I went, what is that? Tell me all about it. I went back to New York and I hooked up with 2 magazines, started shooting for them. And then when South by Southwest time came around in March, I asked them if they can get me there. They go, yeah, sure, we'll get you there. And when I was there, I just followed the path and met the folks I needed to meet. At the very last night, the art director for Paste magazine, Jose Reyes, a couple of weeks later, he called me and says, will you shoot Wilco for our magazine?
Wilco.
And then that is the photo shoot that was where I emerged into the music world. And people want to know, who's the guy who shot Wilco for Paste magazine? It's not about that. It's about listening to the person in Miami who I totally forget. That resonated. I hooked up with a couple of magazines. When it came time, I said, can you get me to South by Southwest? I had no clue. I had never been to Austin, Texas, but I knew I needed to show up there. And I did. And I had a badge and I went to shows. I met people, and you follow the path. And then bingo, presto, changeo. And then Paste eventually became one of the biggest magazines in this country. And I was with them for 7 years at South by Southwest because I listened when people said that's where you needed to be, and then asked myself, does that really resonate for me, or doesn't it resonate for me? And if it didn't resonate for me, I'd ask myself, why? And then it's about then showing up. I needed to show up. So ask yourself that question. Where do I need to show up to meet the people that will help me along the way on my path to move me towards what I want?
Even when it's not comfortable. And that's really what this is about.
Yep.
And part of it is showing up even in discomfort. It's easy to say no, thank you. It's easy to come up with reasons why it's a no. But Josh, like you said earlier in tonight's broadcast, for a year you committed to saying yes, even when you didn't want to say yes. You just kept saying yes, because when we say yes in that regard, as long as it doesn't include some level of danger or abuse of emotional, mental, physical, or sexual abuse, yes can be a yes. If I flip it back to what I just talked about is some kind of abuse in a relationship, then when we say no, we're actually saying yes to ourselves. But in this regard, in this topic for tonight, we're really talking about what we do for career, right? Following our passion, following our inner knowing, even when we're feeling discomfort because we may not have done it before. There are many events that I'm invited to now, and I say yes, and even though there's a part of me that really doesn't want to have to show up, but I do it anyway because I very rarely regret having shown up. Because as long as you get one thing out of it, one lesson, one connection, one conversation, it's worth it.
Yep. It's the universe opening a door for us. If somebody asks us, hey, this is going on Saturday night, you want to go, ask yourself, well, what else would I be doing? Maybe sitting in front of the TV watching a movie. The universe is always most of the time is always knocking out our door.
We're just not paying attention.
And are we ready? Are we paying attention? Are we going to show up? Say yes, because we can always show up and then make another choice if it's not resonating for us.
Right.
And I wanted to piggyback. This will be my final thought for the evening. I wanted to piggyback on you, Jeff, that you brought up about raising your vibration. And Jay, you touched on it as well. It's not about showing up and being in a shitty mood that you're there and complaining and bitching and moaning. I did those years I really, really did. I was angry at the world after my startup crashed. And I was a bitter, bitter person. I hated a lot of things and the world at that time. And I guarantee you that no opportunities were coming my way with that energy that I was putting out there. And you know, we just did an episode on fake it till you make it. Sometimes you have to. So for the first year that I lived in LA, that I moved out to, I had an alarm clock that you could put a CD in, and it would start up at your alarm to the certain track. And I had Eminem, you know, the song, this one shot, your one opportunity. I played that every morning for a year as my alarm to energize myself, to charge me up, to give, you know, I needed that little boost to be like, yes, I'm going after what I want. I know this is hard, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So yeah, if you're driving to an event and you're scared, jam a song in the car and crank it up loud, get your energy going, get yourself moving. It's all about showing up as big and whole as you can. And if you're not feeling it, try. Just, you can, like the boys said, you could always leave. But opportunity is at these things that we say yes to, and it's how we show up that is the two meeting together in the middle.
Yeah, what resonated for me real quick, Josh,
Right,
what just came up for me was that how many times are we so easily influenced by other people's opinions, people that are in our inner circle?
Sure.
We're afraid of their judgment. We're afraid of what they're going to think of us, what they're going to say. If we exit stage left or we walk out and we say we're done, we're going in a different direction. How many of us, what holds us back is just the fear of other people's impressions of us making that change?
Fear
Well,
of disappointing others.
Yeah.
I'll add to that real quick too. Everybody I knew from Denver that moved to LA moved back within a year. That was the model that I had. So everybody told me when I was leaving, oh, we'll see you in a year. We'll see you in a year.
Wow.
So do you think
And
that's
I
been a
was,
motivator for you, Josh? Do you think that on some level, yeah, that
you
was
know,
playing in
I
back
didn't
of your head?
even look back or give it any energy. I just said, I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to die trying. So yeah, but the model that I had and what everybody told me was, we'll see you in a year.
So what's the lesson from that? What do you think?
We don't have to. That's their story.
Right.
We don't have to listen to anybody's story but our own. If it feels good, go for it. If people say, oh, but I have a cousin who did that and struggled with it and blah, blah, that's their story. Don't listen. Don't listen. Do you. Do it your way. Do what feels good and follow that. Stories are stories. People have opinions. Thank them and move on.
Well, there's one caveat to that, Josh, I'd like to add is that they have their stories, but we also have ours up in here.
Totally.
So, yeah. So what I want to piggyback on you and share is that turn off the story within your mind as well. Instead, tap into your heart, because that's where your truth is. That's where your passion, that's where all your wisdom is. That's going to guide you to your next pivot, to your next change, to honoring the true essence of who you were born to be and do what you were born to do, not who you became. So it's less about even what our own thoughts tell us, because those thoughts that are coming through our head, they're not even ours. Most likely they're one of our parents or our grandparents. It can go back 100 years to the ancestors one more time. So it's even turning off what's going on up above the neck and learning how to.
And you might have failed at the last 4 things, but that doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means that those weren't right for you.
Right. The universe is preparing you for your truth.
Don't make the story. Don't make the story.
There you
Keep
go.
trying. Keep doing it. If you fail, fail again and fail again. I'm going through another business. Big business thing right now. I failed huge 7 years ago. I mean, brutally financially painful, and almost took my life to suicide because of it. I'm doing it again. I'm willing to fail again because it feels good.
What feels good?
What I'm following.
Okay.
I'm a builder. I'm a builder in this life, and I have to create. And I'm willing to fail one more time. And I'm not making up a story that I'm not sure if I can do this because I'm a failure. I failed at the last 4. No, this one's different. They're all
There you
different.
Beautiful, bro.
Ev, I want to invite you to close us out tonight as we hit the hour mark. Closing words, thoughts based on what came forward from listening to all of us, including yourself this evening.
So much value again, my brothers. It's always nice to sit back and just be in the warmth of my beautiful brothers, listening to the stories, man, because, you know, it allows not only myself, but I'm sure for all of our viewers out there to be able to give you some sort of guidance for your path, for your journey. Because there's only one hero on this journey, my brothers and sisters, and that is you. You're the hero of your own journey. You know, for many of our lives, what may really hold us back from, you know, being able to pursue this journey of fulfillment, happiness, or joy are really some of those beliefs that we've carried for so long. And, you know, whether we were the one that was bullied, whether we were the one that was picked on, those sort of things can be demoralizing in our later life, in our adult life. Now, what we've shared tonight between the 4 of us, we've shared strength, we've shared courage, we've shared this bravery of the capacity of what it is to be, I guess, a human, being able to fulfill some of these dreams or this life that you want to actually live. But I know for myself on my journey, one thing that never held me back was fear. And we touched on it tonight, but I just want you to ask yourself, my brothers and sisters, when was the last time that you truly outleaped or overjumped fear to create change? That is the true essence of the spiritual journey. But when we are able to overleap or jump out that fear, we actually lean more into faith. And again, I'm not talking about the religious faith. I'm just talking about the faith that you know and you trust that the universe has your back when you take that leap. So when we're able to take that leap within our lives, we actually create that safe space, like we say, show after show after show. And no matter how old we get or we are within our lives, we feel like we can play again as the inner child. And for me, that was really the safe path for me, that I was always playing. And so for many of us, we close off to these infinite possibilities, to these opportunities, to these possibilities. You know, they say, show up early. They say, leave late. For me, my brothers and sisters, I don't care what age you are out there tonight. Just show up. It's never too late.
There you go.
Boom.
And with that, I love you, folks.
Wow. I think we got a show. I think we got a wrap. Let's put a pretty bow on a show and call it a wrap. I love you guys. Viewers, if you enjoyed our topic tonight, please share it out. Share the link with your friends and family. And we invite you to grow up, show up, and glow up with us all on Real Men, Real Talk, Live.